Good evening, Bridgeport. Thanks for coming out tonight. It's 7:42. This is our March 12th meeting. We are called to order. Please rise and pledge the flag.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Matt, roll call, please.
Councilmember Schenk.
Here.
Councilmember Howe.
Here.
Vice President Gundrum.
Here.
President Alzaid.
Here.
Councilmember Nolan.
Here.
Councilmember Gamble.
Here.
Councilmember Cosenza.
Here.
Mayor Heil.
Here.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Biller?
Thank you, Madam President. We were in executive session from approximately 6:45 to approximately 7:40 with regard to real estate leases and personnel issue.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. All right, thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We have one fun announcement, something that we look forward to every year. We have the Dr. Vincent Scholarship Award winner to announce this evening. Someone that I think is very special to all of us. I feel like watched him grow up. Are we announcing?
We are. I think it's okay for the committees going through.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then who would be?
No, you can.
Chair
You
of the
guys can go ahead. When we do the award, I'll get involved. We can do the. You guys can go
Who's the
ahead.
chair of the committee? Oh, okay. We can move to Ms. Councilmember Megan Nolan to give us the update.
Okay, I will announce this year's winner of the Dr. Vincent Moralia Scholarship Award. I thought Kyle Schenk was going to make the announcement, so I'll stumble through my words here. But we are pleased to announce that this year's the Bridgeport the Vincent Moralia Scholarship Award will be going to Upper Marion senior Roan Matthew. He and his family, they will be here at our next meeting for the award presentation. But I think anybody here in the borough who has seen him grow up, volunteering at the carnival, the 5K, with the Oaks, with the Elks Lodge, he's been growing up volunteering here in the borough. His transcript is just phenomenal, and as I say every year, I don't know how I got into college, or maybe I'm glad I got into college 25 years ago, because the kids these days are just very impressive with all the activities that they do. Roan is a Eagle Scout, and he did, when you are riding your bike on the Chester Valley Trail, you will see the bike repair contraption that he had installed. So congratulations to Roan, and we will see you at our next council meeting for the awards presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. All right, just for a quick update here from the community perspective, I wanted to thank the Community Canopy Project. Very exciting. About a week and a half ago, they came into Memorial Park and planted 14 native trees. They had some volunteers from Segas Property Group and Wells Fargo, so I wanted to thank them for coming down, and wanted to kind of shout out something that we constantly mention, but here's kind of further proof. Our team, our staff, Keith, Matt, and especially our public works team were very well liked, and the members of this organization pulled me aside and said that this was the best public works team they have ever worked with in their entirety of the history of their organization. The guys brought down water for them and made sure that everything was very easy for them to do. So all they had to do was really just focus on planting the trees, which is what their purpose was. But I wanted to thank our public works guys for doing a great job. And because of it, hopefully we have additional partnerships and additional tree plantings in Bridgeport. So just wanted to thank them and thank the organization. Also, thank you to the members of council that could make it. I believe it was Laura and Megan, maybe, that came in right before me. And then I went down with my son, Rakan, and he was able to help plant one of the trees, although he dug a hole that was completely irrelevant and not related to the tree itself. He's very convinced that he planted a tree, so we will tell him that he did. But yeah, just some fun feel-good stories for Bridgeport, and very excited to kind of see additional greenery down there. I do want to point out that we did not at all harm the sledding paths. My children would be very upset, and amongst the rest of the children of Bridgeport, I'm sure. So you can still sled down your regular paths with no problems. All right, so as you all know, starting this year, we have begun to have work sessions as a part of our kind of council meetings. This gives us the opportunity to kind of talk ideas out, gives us the opportunity to chat with residents and businesses and beyond about some of these items. So we will be opening up the work session portion of the meeting right now, and we are reviewing and discussing a presentation of the 2026 Fire Service Study by the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. And I will send this over to Mr. Truman to give us a quick update here.
Sure. Thank you, President Alzayed. With that, I will welcome Mr. Little and Ms. Morrow up to the podium. Our two representatives from the DCED. Ms. Morrow works at the DCED, and Scott Little is Chief of Manheim Township's Fire Department and served as our peer consultant on this project. And if I could please ask you both to speak into the microphone there so that you get picked up on the recording. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, Council President and Council members. Ann Morrow, Local Government Specialist. I work in the Governor's Center for Local Government Services at the Department of Community and Economic Development. I support the efforts of the Public Safety Services, and this program provides studies at no cost for municipalities across the state for police, fire, and EMS. We also provide direction and guidance with these services, as well as implementation of recommendations of the studies that the peers provide to municipalities. As you introduced Scott Little, he is one of our fire peer consultants, and he was assigned to this project and will be presenting his findings and recommendations. Thank you.
Good evening again to all members of council. As stated, Scott Little, your public safety consultant for this project. This study offered a comprehensive evaluation of the current fire protection systems in place in Bridgeport Borough. This study aims to guide the borough officials, you, in making informed decisions about the future delivery of service, operations, staffing, and infrastructure, but it also provides you with actionable recommendations. With that, we'll get into the slide deck here. The presentation agenda outlined here is the study overview and objectives, where we're looking at the overarching scope of the work, where we assessed the fire apparatus and equipment, fire station locations and conditions, your funding, your incident response, your recruitment, retention efforts for your volunteers, the overall staffing, policies internally, and also training. We also looked at your current fire service status, commitment to the community, and key recommendations. So when we look at the next slide, we have the study overview objectives, right? So it is about, again, enhancing fire service delivery and where we can find best practices that are being used internally, and also best practices across the nation that could be implemented here, right? Again, actionable items and recommendations part of this study. And what we're looking at objective-wise, we're looking at the improved public safety, right? That's the enhancing response capabilities based on your increased demand for the fire service. And that right now is happening through your regional response approach for high hazard instances like a building fire. We're using mutual aid support. And mutual aid is a common thing where we give and take, right? So mutual aid, your fire companies will go out and support other communities. And in return, you get that mutual aid support back. Operational efficiencies. We're looking at maximizing your apparatus, your personnel, and the facilities to have an overall effective operations, especially when we are talking in the challenges that you can see in the report, where we talk about the volunteerism piece. You have a huge dedicated amount of volunteers with decades of service here to your community. But we also know there's a work-life balance involved in volunteering, and you can't always be there, right? So there's that balancing act that your staff is working on with the 42 volunteers currently rostered, Not all can show up at all hours of the day. So again, having that challenge to work through, and that you can also achieve through your mutual aid partners. Looking at the responsibility financially, right? Planning out your capital projects for equipment, apparatus, large increases in the budget due to a nationwide fire apparatus shortfalls within the manufacturing industry, but also rising costs. So that's a challenge you're going to be faced with that we talk about within the study. And then our community engagement piece. We are always in the fire service looking at building our community trust through transparency, engagement, and outreach, and looking at a couple of those recruitment retention efforts that can engage the community. Next slide is your current fire service status, looking at your population, your square miles of the borough. Your ISO rating class 3 should be a highlighted best practice that is occurring here in your community. So that those things we also wanted to highlight in the study. And I just wanted to share the fact that being an ISO 3 in your public protection classification, also known as ISO, has a direct impact on the residents and insurance premiums on their residential properties, but also your commercial properties. They see the biggest reduction or discount in their premiums. So as an ISO 3, you always want to have the best rating possible. Class 1 is your best. But when over 2,000 Pennsylvania communities have been evaluated, it's nice to highlight that you are in the top 10% as an ISO 3. There's only 194 fire companies in Pennsylvania that are either an ISO 1, 2, or 3, and you meet that. So again, that is a kudos to your staff. That's from public works involvement to your firefighters here, your volunteers here that also showed up tonight, right, for their involvement and input. Because again, as we talk through this study, it's about having the conversation with everybody at the table, and we also included all of your volunteers in these conversations through interviews through this process. And then you can see here the allocation is especially important from the general fund. We knew going through this and conducting in-person interviews, the relationship of all of you as council members with your volunteer fire companies here that are operating in the borough, and the funding is appreciated and very well supported in the current climate, right? We can't always know that you're always going to be the people sitting in front of us approving the budget every year. So there is some ways in there to ensure the firefighters have the proper funding moving forward for the future through fire tax, and also when we talk about recruitment retention efforts of a tax credit adoption. And you can see here actual membership has risen in the Borough Fire Department. Since 2022 there, you can see that you have gained some of the volunteers, which again, overarching is still very much a challenge because of the work-life balance that people need, and we know dual incomes and other things is causing people not to have the time to volunteer. Next slide, we're going to get into the commitment to the community, highlighting 6 key areas of the study. One is emergency response. So we're looking at the benchmarks, national standards for volunteer fire company turnout. When we talk about the turnout, we're talking about when the call is dispatched to when we're actually got the fire truck wheels turning to the travel time to get on scene. So we're always looking to try and have those benchmarks, right? Arrivals of under 9 minutes. Again, this is utilized here in the borough through your mutual aid partners. Again, you are a community that has strong mutual aid support, and those relationships do matter across independent fire companies. But in this case, with the mutual aid, you have 2 career staff companies assisting the borough, so you have immediate response, even if there is a delay locally because of the volunteer component and availability. When we look at the staffing, we're looking again back at that national standard. We're looking at the goal is 15 firefighters within the 9 minutes. Again, achieving that most times is based off of, again, using mutual aid support in your regional dispatch protocol, where multiple mutual aid are being dispatched automatically on those high hazard instances that you need the most amount of firefighters. When we look at the apparatus and equipment, again, looking at national standards, we know your current state here has a mixed age on apparatus you have, and the need for replacement planning we know is currently being done at the fire company level to figure out how that replacement looks for the aerial device, your ladder truck, and then also for the pumpers. So again, those are capital improvement planning that needs to be done with conversation with council and also to the borough manager with the fire companies on what the future looks like in that planning. We do know, again, because of that manufacturing backlog and the procurement process, the ladder truck, for example, is well over $2 million for a base model at this point, with also a 4 to 5 year from the time you sign your contract till that fire truck would actually show up. So again, that planning is really critical in this process to understand that you're not going to have that fire truck immediately when you sign on the line. Looking at training standards, again, we are looking at some inconsistencies amongst the two companies. We've identified that, had conversation previously on that, and looking at ways to improve that. And we know, again, balancing work-life and then the volunteer time commitment is a challenge, but we also know we can get there with some small recommendations to get everyone on the same page on the training plan. Looking at facilities, again, looking at national standards, looking at occupational safety, contamination controls within fire stations and the facilities. We understand the two current fire stations were not designed for modern day firefighting. One is the apparatus spacing, right? You have close quarters for the apparatus and not a lot of space that's keeping that contamination areas controlled, right? So the current model is what they look at is having apparatus and gear separated from everything else, so we reduce exposure. We have the capturing devices on exhaust, all those things to try and keep where firefighters would be training, where they're going to be in the day room, all their downtime, that it is away from the apparatus. And right now, that's a challenge in both stations. And then again, just that governance and the financial piece. Again, the positive support was a common theme heard in interviews with both fire companies. So again, I think that shows where we're at as a community here for the support of your fire companies. But again, just identifying some of those smaller things that we can do in recruitment and retention efforts for our firefighters. And then the next slide, we'll talk about the 8 strategic recommendations throughout the study. One would be going from a 2 current station model, moving into a 1 station response model. Again, that's going to enhance operational management, efficiencies for all operations within the fire department for your community. And again, that also will allow both fire companies to join forces, bring all the staff under one roof, which again can streamline the communication process, can also streamline when we talk about training. Number 2, recruitment and retention. That is a nationwide issue that we can't seem to really find the best approach to volunteerism, right? And communities all across the country, Pennsylvania has the most amount of fire companies in the nation. So again, we have a lot of challenges. But again, you have 42 active rostered members. And I think some of those things, again, through interviews, we talk about marketing and outreach, how to recruit more volunteers. We can do that through marketing and outreach, getting into the neighborhoods and letting people know and hear our story about what the fire companies are doing. The adoption of a tax credit ordinance. We know that is being done at the county level. That can also be enacted at the local level. And continue with that incentive program. You're giving about $20,000 a year in the incentive program back to the fire company members that are actively responding. So again, working with fire department leadership on that program. The apparatus and equipment, again, that long-range replacement plan thinking about when you will buy that next fire truck, you have to almost now be planning out for the one after that as well due to the backlogs. And again, there's exploring refurbishment versus full replacement. So what you would do in a refurbishment is taking current fire apparatus and rehabbing it at a really reduced cost. So instead of a $2 million for a brand new fire truck, the refurb might be $500,000, $700,000, right? And extend that life at least another about 10 years is what your goal would be on a refurbishment. And that can also help in the stopgap of the long-term replacement plan. Number 4 is your regional strength, right, with your partners, as I talked about. Everybody really seems to have that working relationship and knows the common good of why we are here to serve the community. And we do that through that regional training, regional response plans. And likewise, your fire companies are going out to other communities and also providing assistance. The financial stability, again, ensuring the future funding continues, is also the implementation of a designated fire tax moving forward. Operational continuity, again, bringing both current fire companies into municipal-based borough fire department, bringing all those operations together, bringing in all those resources under one roof that also has authority from the council, but also your manager to be able to carry out, right, the needs of the community. 7 is that risk reduction community engagement piece. Firefighters are the best, right? We're in facilities, we're in community members' homes. We know the high hazard risk areas, and that can be identified through a risk reduction program and that basic community engagement. And number 8, operational authority. Again, a municipally led effort through an ordinance to name the borough fire departments borough fire chief, giving that individual the authority to manage day-to-day operations, the administrative side of both fire companies into one unified organization. And also the recommendation of having a borough training officer to look over both companies in the short term as you move towards the recommendations.
Can I ask a question? Hi. Do you recommend that those 2 people are separate people, or can they be one?
Yeah, you would want to have both that are they're separated positions. Having the borough fire chief managing operations, the administrative side. Again, the standalone would be having a training officer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then in summary and the path forward, right, you have a current foundation here. It exists, again, generationally with decades of service of your volunteer members. And again, they have that shared value and basis on protecting and serving your community at the highest level. But we also know the challenges are real, as we talked about. We have the decline overall in volunteerism. Again, that mutual aid, receiving and also giving. And then a challenge is always the financial impact on the community when we talk about these high dollar value items like new fire station, the apparatus, and then the people costs, right, of the equipment that the firefighters would be wearing. And then the community always comes first. So again, in closing, you have a really strong, dedicated group of volunteers behind me here with dedicated years of service to your community. And I just want to thank them for the opportunity to be able to go through this study with them, with their input and having straightforward dialogue at the table to hear the goods and the pros and the cons of what they're seeing, what they're feeling through this process. So with that, I will open it up for any questions or comments from council.
I have a thought. I'm sure this question is going to come up everywhere that this is discussed in town. As we go, or if we consider taking the 2 fire departments and bring them into one, and we talk about what those locations and what those facilities are going to look like. Did you guys get into a detailed look at those response times around the borough? Because, I think we showed on the opening slide that our good, laudable average response times within the borough. I'm sure when we plan to whatever we go to forward, we want to keep that or, maintain or do better. Did you guys get to that level of detail looking into the study?
Yeah, there was some conversation. We obviously know there's a couple locations that have already been identified as potential. Obviously, this area of town would be an ideal location to maintain, right, to be able to respond in all directions and be able to get there and meet the national standards.
Do we think from what we've looked at, some of it, maybe it's central to where we're at here in town, but do we think a single location, can maintain those response times where, we're half mile by half mile, we're not a big borough, but yet it's still going to be everybody's question. If we go to a single location, is that going to affect response times?
Yeah, in your single location, you also have to, when you look at that, look at your partners, right? Your neighboring municipalities, station locations as well, because they're also going to be responding.
That's good, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
When you're classifying your mutual aid and staying within the 9 minutes, does that mean like when Goodwill also helps Bridgeport 1 out? Or is that exclusively beyond the borders of Bridgeport?
Yeah, so that 9 minutes is looking at all the responding agencies on that dispatch. So a example of the high hazard building fire, right, would be your 2 borough fire companies, Upper Marion, Norristown, Conshohocken, Plymouth. So you got mutual aid coming in. That is the entirety of the response package coming in. The goal there is at 9 minutes. We know 5 o'clock on a Friday, your mutual aid partners coming from, say, Upper Marion probably will not be here that fast because of traffic and other things. So that is into account. We're looking at the total response package there. Did that answer it?
Yes, that answered it. Thank you. Are there grants available for like risk reduction programs? Like, for instance, having volunteer members go out into, home by home and verifying smoke detectors, are working in all the homes. Is there something programs that we can utilize to consistently do that throughout the borough?
Yep, so there's federal grants for fire prevention efforts. There's also state through the State Fire Commissioner's Office for grant funding. But there's also private industry, like some of the insurance providers will provide fire prevention grants for things like free smoke alarms to have a program like that.
We seem to have a fair amount of teenagers that are wandering the streets. Do you have any successful tactics and ways in which, like, they're a great, like, base of kids that create volunteerism, like, that we could bring them in and increase the numbers? I'm just wondering if you have any experience with utilizing teenagers specifically to create the next generation of volunteers, or any recommendations in that
Yeah,
regard?
so there's some challenges there, right? So we already know your fire companies have that junior firefighter process, right, for our teenagers to try and expose them to the fire service and having that path, right, to go volunteer, career, whatever they want to do in life, but getting them in young. And we know that through your generations here of some of your current members, it's generational efforts. We really have lost that as a nation in again, family, work-life balance. We have lost that volunteerism for generations consistently. So some of those things would be, again, through that outreach and marketing, trying to get to the youth in your community. But again, we are also competing against technology and some of the things on their devices that appeals to them more so than volunteering. And there's also a component where when we talk about risk, we talk about firefighting is about 30 to 40% higher to get cancer than the general population. We also have a risk of people losing their life volunteering. Isn't always appealing to everybody. So that is also challenges that we're faced with when we try and talk about the volunteering and recruiting new members into the volunteer fire service.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, have you seen good examples of this, like good examples of marketing in any township that we can like call, communicate with, like maybe learn from?
Yeah, the State Fire Commissioner's Office has a whole recruitment, retention, outreach department. Will help you with all the branding, all the marketing tools. And they also have all the success stories across Pennsylvania that are having them, but I don't have each municipality off the top of my head.
Thank you. And is that something we can get access to? Or do you have that information, Keith?
We
or-
can absolutely get
That's also on the State Fire Commissioner's website.
Okay, great.
All the contact information for their retention, recruitment, outreach personnel.
Wonderful. Thank you. Were there any additional questions?
I just want to add my thanks to you and to our firefighters for putting this together and really putting our community first. As always, as you mentioned, firefighters have such a great risk of multiple diseases. I was just with my friend who has ALS, and he was a firefighter, and there's an increased risk for that disease and other neurological and cancer diseases as well. So I appreciate that. We've been talking about this for a while, and I think that when it comes to fire departments, it can be a hotbed issue, political issue, and it's a lot easier when we have a community where our firefighters and leadership are doing this in such a great way, where they're collaborating and putting the data first and putting the community first and really putting our residents first. So I think that this will be successful because of the relationship between council and the local government and with the firefighters as well. So thank you for that. And I hope that what gets done will put their lives as a priority for their safety. And while hopefully those, as you're talking about the equipment and other fire trucks and other things, that we have a good plan in place for doing that. Because I remember when we bought a fire truck years ago, and that just seemed to me as a new council member like that was an easy thing to do, and I'm realizing that process. So I hope that council and future mayors and everyone will be taking that seriously and not pushing that down the road, because we need the equipment to be up to date as readily as possible. So thank you for all of your work for everybody.
Thank you.
I want to say thanks, guys, for coming out, the crews coming out. That you guys always show up, not just when we have emergencies in town, but when we have here meetings and the council has to deliberate on or make some decisions. You guys are always showing up to show your engagement with town. So thanks for being here, and I'm sure we have some Mr. Wanzik's coming up.
Chief Little, just wanted to thank you for your efforts and all the work that you've put in over the last few months. I know Chief Wanzik was coming up. Ms. Morrow, if I know that in our meeting with our private meeting when you originally gave the presentation, you and some of your other cohorts that aren't here this evening had discussed some of the other next steps and what the DCED can provide for additional feasibility studies and grant assistance, and I wondered if you wanted to just briefly review that.
Sure, I'd
Thank
be
you.
happy to. So we have a new process, actually. It's electronic. How about that? So instead of a piece of paper, you can go to the DCED website under local government to the left, and then it would be technical assistance. There's a form that would get completed, and you don't have to have a council meeting to approve that, to get that started. The manager can certainly just go on and identify the scope of work that you're interested in. So say there's recommendations out of this study that you'd like to pursue, and you'd like further assistance from the peer consultant to help. So you would submit that. We then would engage in a conversation and talk a little bit more about what specifically you would like technical assistance with. Then we design a scope of work, which is a statement of work, along with a letter of understanding, which is the contract between DCED and the municipality. And then that gets signed. So then at a public meeting, you would then vote and sign that letter of understanding that you're willing to come in agreement with us to cooperate and participate in whatever that statement of work is. If it's regarding your fire services, again, we have a service provider agreement that we would ask if we would need to work with your fire company again, that they understand what that scope of work is and that they sign off stating that they are willing to participate and engage with us again. And once both get signed, then we can move forward and begin work. The consultant will reach out and start to have the meetings and do whatever type of technical assistance you would request. So the process is rather simple. There is some paperwork, and it does take a motion and at a public meeting and the signing of the contract, and then work can begin. There is no cost, again, for these services. Although I do need to say that currently this program's being restructured. So there is a pause on this request until June, but that's not that far away. Okay?
Thank you very much, Ms.
You're
Morrow.
welcome.
Appreciate it. Chief Wanzik, please come forward.
Do you
By
have
all
anything
means.
before I?
No, I mean, I have a couple things, like, I think next steps forward, things that we've discussed already, but by all means, you speak
So
your piece.
I just want to make sure that I thank Scott, Chief Little, and Ms. Morrow, and the team. Obviously, like Scott said, there was a lot of input from the membership, which was important. Scott was a little more diplomatic. There was good and bad. I mean, look, we're not perfect. There was a lot of good brought out. And I don't want to say bad, but there was a lot of things that need to be adjusted, and we're moving towards those adjustments. Some of the things that were actually brought out, we've actually addressed already at the station level. I would like to say that the department as a whole, with this study, would like to push. We don't want to sit on it. We kind of feel that what's there is where we want to be. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of discussion. There's going to be a lot of big council input, and we're looking forward to it. Thursday's our first meeting to get this thing rolling. Keith and I discussed some things that we feel that could happen very quickly. After Thursday, I guess we would bring it up at the next meeting, unless, Keith, I don't know what your thoughts are, but we're in favor of moving forward with all the recommendations. So any member you want to discuss with, we're okay with that. Any chief officer you want to discuss with, that's fine. If you guys want to talk to us one-on-one, we're fine with that. But globally, we're on board. So hopefully council's on board with us, and we understand that it's going to be there's some immediate things, there's going to be some short-term things that we can do, and there's definitely some long-term things that we have to look at. But I think we're headed in the right direction.
That's a credit to the whole department's professionalism, guys. I mean, it's not just a hobby for you guys. You want to do it right, and you want to look ahead, and you want to take things into the future. And Chief Wanzik, under your leadership and the whole crew, I mean, you guys are impressive. Just as a department, it's really, really impressive.
I will say it's a team effort. I don't know what that saying is about building a mountain or whatever, but it is definitely a team effort. One guy can't do it, but that's part of the team right there. And I have to thank them for all the input they had in this study. So if you guys have any questions for us, we're more than happy to answer them. Or we'll meet Thursday night.
And thank you, Chief. And if you don't mind, you stay at the podium here for a second. Listen, you don't have to. You can sit back down if you want. Thanks again to the DCED and Chief Little for their time and effort on this. Thank you to both both fire companies for your willingness and your participation and your candidness throughout the consultation and review and interview process. I think this is a big step forward in the right direction. I think it's where we need to be, and addressed some questions that I think that borough leadership and fire leadership were mutually thinking about. With, as Chief Little alluded to, tougher and tougher to muster up that volunteerism, and how do we combat and face the recruitment and retention? How do we move forward as one fire department? And I think that even before the DCED coming in, you guys, Goodwill and Number One, have made some great strides over the last few years, consolidating under the 154 number. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, with that, obviously, members of the Police and Fire Committee and members of fire leadership, this is your second time hearing this review, hearing this presentation. The DCED had come in and given us a draft walkthrough of this presentation about a month or so ago, and at our first police and fire meeting, committee meeting of the year, and discussions after that meeting, and discussions with borough and fire leadership led to, once we read and digested the fire study, and the entirety of the fire company membership was able to read and digest the study, what are the next steps? And to that end, having discussed this, not only with fire leadership and with the committee and between Chief Wanzik and I think that what needs to happen next is the following. Borough and fire leadership continue to meet and establish a set of short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals based on the recommendations that came from the fire study. Obviously sequencing and prioritizing those middle and long-term goals is going to be based on additional evaluation, might depend on further input and assistance from the DCED, and that technical assistance program. I think it's also going to depend, obviously, some of these are directly linked to finances, resources, space, location, things that, we may or may not have ironed out at this point. That being said, based on the study results and discussions that have already been held between fire and borough leadership, I think that we feel that the following goals should be short-term action items to be addressed sooner than later that will help formalize a path forward on unifying under the one Bridgeport Fire Department umbrella, as well as aid in recruitment and retention. In other words, of the recommendations that were provided in the study, there's some low-hanging fruit there that Steve alluded to could be accomplished pretty quickly. I think it goes as follows. I think these three things are easy things to start working on immediately, and then with the help of the DCED and additional communication between borough and fire leadership, we do the midterm and the long-term goals. But number one, or A, enhance the language in borough code as it pertains to the Bridgeport Fire Department, meaning officially recognize the Bridgeport Fire Department as one overarching body, and memorialize Borough Council's ability to appoint the fire chief. Number two, enact the property tax rebate program for any eligible BFD members, which is something that a lot of our neighbors have already adopted, something that the county has adopted. And then number three, work on additional outreach and recruitment efforts. I think, like I said, I think these are low-hanging fruit items that we can start working on sooner than later. I look forward to working with the members of the Police and Fire Committee, Chief Wanzik, and the rest of fire leadership on trying to flesh these together. So, I don't know, do you have any comments on that?
I think it's a good start. I think it's getting the ball rolling, and like I said, we prefer to move this process along rather than sit on it, and I think that's a very good start. I don't know if anybody in the membership has any comments on it. I know we'll probably discuss it on Thursday at the committee meeting, guidelines and more specifics of the process, but I think it's a very good start.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Chief, before you leave, I just want to say, because we haven't had a chance to say this year, since you're here publicly, I just want to give personally my thanks to you for your service to Bridgeport over these years, and for all you've done for our community.
No problem.
All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and looking forward to hearing the results of the Thursday meeting.
That meeting's at 6:30 on Thursday? Yes. All right. Thank you for your support.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Make sure you put your phone number in.
My head's attached to me. I won't forget that.
All right, we can move into our business items. So we will now begin voting on items, so the work session is closed. First up here for council consideration, we have authorization to send a letter to State Representative Tim Briggs in opposition of House Bills 2109 and 2186. Just for a bit of context, the bills would prohibit municipalities from limiting the number of unrelated people living together and kind of limit our ability to control some of those things. As you know, we all tap into the same facilities in terms of water, electric, things like that, and we want to just make sure that everyone has a good experience in the borough and be able to tailor that to our town and our community. So, amongst a couple of other details, that's generally my understanding of some of the focus of those bills. So this would be a letter that we would be sending to State Representative Tim Briggs. Do we have a motion to authorize sending the letter?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion from Mr. Schenk, second from Ms. Gamble. Do we have any questions or comments from council or the public? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next up for council consideration, we have authorization to re-advertise ordinance 2026-03, amending chapter 5601204 of Bridgeport Borough Code, additional regulations in the LIC Light Industrial Commercial District. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second from Ms. Cosenza. And just for some additional context, we've chatted about this before in our work session and wanted to thank Sal, his office, our staff, Keith, for spending some additional time on this, making sure that it's ready to go. All right. Do we have any questions or comments from council or the public?
Just really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Members of council, members of the audience, you may remember last meeting we had this as an item to adopt, a motion to adopt, but that was tabled for consideration at a later meeting. We had the opportunity to do a couple more minor revisions, tweaks on this ordinance. Namely, we refined the language regarding parking requirements and the parking in lieu of fee for potential future multifamily and mixed-use construction projects. And secondly, we added development standards and guidelines for multifamily and mixed-use uses, including building step-backs, pedestrian connectivity, common area space, and building facade design standards. And at this point, based on feedback from our staff, professionals, elected officials, and our county planning technical assistance provider, I think this is a far more comprehensive ordinance that is ready for advertisement.
Keith, can I ask, We were talking about the 2-foot setback every certain feet in our planning. Was that going to be part of this language?
It is.
Okay.
It was added in.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, any additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Next up for council consideration, we have authorization to advertise ordinance 2026-04, amending Chapter 331 license permits and general business regulations. Again, another topic that we've chatted through in our work sessions. And again, Chairman Gamble mentioned and discussed at our Small Business Development, Economic Development Committee as well. So we've talked about it at length. Do we have a motion to advertise?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion from Ms. Gamble, second from Ms. Nolan. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public?
If I may, President Al-Zayed, after the last meeting where we initially discussed this proposed amendment to Borough Code, we took the feedback that we got from our elected officials and plugged it into the draft ordinance you see in front of you. Namely, we refined the language regarding what is considered a business. We established again that the fee is set by the fee schedule. It is $35 a year currently, but actually during a Small Business and Economic Development Committee meeting, the committee had requested staff to review what other municipalities that have a similar business license charge on average, and the review shows that $50 a year is more closely, I guess, is more on par with what the average annual license fee is for a business license of this nature. So if council so chose, we would have some justifiable wiggle room to increase this license fee from the $35 a year that it has been for well over a decade and bump it up to $50 a year. But again, that is set by the fee schedule, and adopting or advertising, I should say, this document tonight would not, not coming to a decision on that this evening would not keep us from moving forward with advertising it. Number 3, there is a fully delineated list of businesses that would be exempted from having to pay the fee. They would still have to apply for and obtain the license annually, but they would be exempt from paying the fee. And then finally, of course, we all know the number right after 3 is 5, a non-confidential list, database of licensees may be shared with emergency responders, economic development partners, and tax collectors. So if there are any further questions regarding this, I'm happy to field them.
I have a question. What's number 4?
No,
What are you hiding, Keith?
there is in fact no number 4. There's no 13th floor here. It's we're on the straight and narrow.
Do you have any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next up here for council consideration, we have authorization to advertise ordinance 2026-05, amending Chapter 560 of Bridgeport Borough Code zoning, adding definitions and categories, regulations, and development standards for data centers.
Make the motion.
And I will second it.
Motion from Ms. Gundrum, second from Ms. Hauk. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up here for council consideration, we have authorization to execute a lease agreement between the Borough of Bridgeport and CNS Research Corporation for use of property located at 221 Mill Street on the second floor.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Shank. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Cosenza. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next up here for council consideration, we have authorization to execute a lease agreement between the Borough of Bridgeport and Oliveri Associates for the use of property located in 221 Mill Street, garage and parking area. Do Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion Ms. Hauk, second Ms. Nolan. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next up here for council consideration, we have authorization to execute a lease agreement between the Borough of Bridgeport and Edward Renstein, EB Automotive, for use of property located in 14 2nd Street.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion Ms. Cosenza, second Ms. Gamble. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up here for council consideration, we have authorization to execute a lease agreement between the Borough of Bridgeport and Kyle's Elite Auto Services for use of the property located at 16 2nd Street. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Schenk,
Second.
second Ms. Nolan. Do you have any questions or comments from council or the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. That's it for council business. We can move on to unfinished business. Are there any items of unfinished business anyone would like to discuss? All right, we can move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
I have a committee report for the Community Events Committee. We met on the 4th, and two big topics were movie night is returning, first of which will be this Saturday, and the movie will be Back to the Future. So I'm looking forward to that one. I don't know about anybody else. One of my favorite movies. Second, we chatted about the carnival. Planning is well underway for that. Everything is all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. We do have a new company coming in, an amusement company coming in this year, so I'm anxious to see what the new rides will be like. And we should have advanced ticket sales starting soon, and you should also see posters going up around town and surrounding areas. And that's it.
I had a question today about the yard sale, the community yard sale. Is that something you guys talked about?
We didn't talk about it at the last meeting, but that usually comes up in June, right at the end, I believe, of the carnival.
I think it's aligned with the carnival, right? Saturday?
Most years,
Third,
yes.
the
Not this year?
community yard sale day is the third Saturday of June, right?
Yes, it'll be Saturday, June 20th this year, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I tried to get the information out, but just wanted to make sure that people knew it was still happening, that were curious about it. Thank you.
And we generally start advertising and promoting that at the beginning of June.
Additional committee reports? All right, move on to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you. I want to start with the last vote and remind everyone that in Bridgeport, every Kyle is elite. So thank you. For my report today, I want to say that May is a very important month for many causes important to people in Bridgeport. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week and Nurses Week. I just want to say I'm grateful to the nurses who provide great care for people in our community. My children have benefited from the nurses at Nearby CHOP, and we can never say thank you enough. And I want to share our gratitude to Bridgeport's teachers. I'm very happy that our children have attended Bridgeport Elementary School, where they have outstanding teachers and experiences. Last Monday was International Firefighters Day. It's due to the patron saint of firefighters. And Bridgeport residents and businesses know how valuable our firefighters are to keep us safe, as we just heard today. So I will do more to recognize our firefighters next week as well. May is also both ALS Awareness Month and Mental Health Awareness Month, and many of you know my personal connection to ALS, but I'm also grateful to the many people in town who either are working to promote mental health or supporting family members with mental health challenges. I want to let you know I'll be holding office hours on May 27th around lunchtime, since we'll be here anyway that day for some things. So I'll invite you all to come and say hi at my mayor's office and share your concerns. And of course, you can always email anytime or stop me, as people do regularly. I will point out that the chief was going to be here, but he had a health issue today, and so he was not able to attend. So I want to update, as I posted on Facebook, about my recent check-in with the chief. On June 1st, we're holding an event here at Borough Hall to discuss issues around domestic abuse. We want people to feel safe coming to our officers, to talk about abuse in your home, and learn how to protect friends and neighbors. This event is in conjunction with MCAP and Laurel House. I appreciate the chief working with his officers and the community organizations on this to bring attention to domestic abuse and hopefully keep our residents safe. Our police take every call seriously. The number of calls into our department is higher than ever as our population increases and more people are working in Bridgeport as well. We want you to call our police department if you suspect a crime or something feels unsafe. I recently called the police at midnight because of an issue on my street or near my street, and there was someone else already calling, which is good that people were already calling in. Our police are public servants. They want you to call so they can stop a crime earlier instead of finding out later and not being able to do that. In the next coming days, it's going to be 90 degrees in Bridgeport. And so there will be other instances where you might be looking after your neighbors for the heat. A lot of people don't have air conditioning in their homes. So, if you have an issue that you need, a resident is not in a safe situation, please let us know, whether it's our department or not, but we want to look after our neighbors. And our officers are also strongly taking traffic, parking, and property damage seriously. First, please lock your car doors. I say this every meeting. We know about groups of young people who come into Bridgeport and they walk down streets and pull at car handles to see if any are unlocked. Please do not leave valuables exposed in your cars and take them into your home if you can. If you know about break-ins or thefts on your street and have Ring cameras or phone cameras, please let our officers know, share that information with them. Even if you can't make out who they are, they can use that information to track people and catch them. And we want to not be too punitive necessarily. We want to stop people from going down bad paths. The police have a very high clearance rate and have tracked down thefts even to other states. So if you think people can easily get away with theft, please know that our police officers are working with other departments around the area, and they will go after people. So stopping them earlier will protect those people who might be going down a bad path. Our officers pull people over many times a day for speeding, lack of registration, and not adhering to public signs. I was really surprised actually the other day when I talked to Chief and found out how many people are driving without a current driver's license or with lack of car registration. So you would probably be surprised. I think most of us are trying to keep our things current. As you'll see, we posted some new signs on 5th and DeKalb, so we try to adjust when there's calls about traffic incidences. Just know that we only have so many police officers and they're looking after kids going to and from school or they're looking at other things. So we try to be as quick on those concerns as quickly as we can. Our officers want to keep your kids safe and out of trouble. We're here to listen to the concerns of parents, and that includes assistance with mentorship. If you are concerned about young people, teenagers, my son's 12, so even around that age, and you want to talk to our officers, please reach out to our department. Our officers are happy to help give better guidance or connect them with school services as well and help you with those issues. With warmer weather, more people will be on our streets every day, including with some great events coming up. We want you to be safe and enjoy Bridgeport because it's a great place to live and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, we can move on to new business. Are there any items of new business we'd like to discuss?
I'd like to share, I've recently gone to a few PTC meetings at the Bridgeport Elementary School, and this Friday is their spring fling. A number of council members are going to be up there answering any questions that anybody has, exhibiting some of the events coming up, and just hoping to mill about with some of the students and their families. And so please stop by and talk to us. And then the other thing that one of the PTC members brought up was that the Big Boy train is coming through Bridgeport on July 2nd and July 6th. And they did ask if we could have a watch party. So I said I would bring that up, and I don't know exactly what that means in terms of timing or closing Mill Street or something, but just wanted to bring that up as a level of interest for a number of youngsters in the borough.
So I do know that Union Pacific does have the schedule on our website for the Big Boy. 4014, I think, is the train number. It's an old steamer. It's making its first
East Coast tour of the U.S. this year, so really cool stuff. But I believe Friday, July 3rd is when it's leaving Abrams Yard in Upper Marion, and will be coming through Bridgeport. So if it's leaving around 9 a.m., sometime after that, I definitely, all of a sudden, I'm a train person. So just, yeah, I also want to have a watch party.
Sounds like a donuts and trains kind of morning. I think we'll,
I actually did talk to Chief about this because many of you know
That's
Bill
amazing.
Smith. He told me about it, and I was caught off guard because I don't think
right
about
there with you.
big boy trains. And so that we will be closing off roads, and we'll talk about like the timing of that. But see, we just didn't know the timing as of a couple of days ago. So Chief will be on that.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
thank you, Laura, for starting to do some of this work. I know we've been trying to kind of inch towards a better relationship with all of our partners, and the school's a big one. So thank you for putting in that extra effort. I know it's long hours, but we appreciate your work. All right. Are there any other items of new business this evening? Can we move on to open forum and announcements? Are there any announcements?
Me again.
Yeah.
A couple things for the Bridgeport Upper Marion Little League. They currently have a GoFundMe started for raising funds to purchase a new scoreboard for the Little League fields up at the park. So any amount, if you can spare, would be greatly appreciated. And you can find a posting on their Bridgeport Upper Marion Little League Facebook page with a link to that GoFundMe. The second announcement is again, Bridgeport Upper Marion Little League is having a fundraiser, and it will be at PJ Willihan's Pub in Conshohocken, their Conshohocken location. It is on Thursday, June 4th, and any 15% of sales from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. But very important, you have to state when the server comes to your table immediately the first time that you are there for the fundraiser, for the Little League fundraiser. So great food. You got to eat anyway. Might as well do it and get some money for Little League involved. And that's it for me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Gundrum. Yeah, they're doing such a good job, so really excited to see some additional efforts, and thank you for bringing them to our attention. All right, we can move on to public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment this evening? All right, we can certainly entertain a meeting to a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion. I'll second.
All right, it is 8:15. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.